Hello and welcome to FL Studio Music Theory Primer video number 3, and in this video we're going to be talking about minor scales. There's some things you need to know about minor scales before you start using them, and it's a little bit confusing, but don't let it get you worked up. I'm going to show you how you can still create a reference channel and create music in any scale you want in the minor scales. But if I told you I want you to create a song in G minor, before you say okay, the first thing you should say is harmonic, melodic, or natural. Because we have 3 different kinds of minor scales. That's just the way it is. There's 3 different kinds of minor scales, and so you have to kind of understand what's going on here. I can go into the channels and I can add a sampler. We're going to create a reference. Let's say we want to do A minor. I can right click here, and here's harmonic minor. With harmonic minor, we don't have too many issues. So I can draw in the harmonic minor scale, and starting on A, if I wanted to use A minor, A harmonic minor, I would go in here and just draw in my reference, and then in the piano roll here with ghost channels turned on, if I needed a reference, I can just see what notes are contained within A harmonic minor. With A harmonic minor, all the notes are natural except for the last note of the scale. It's sharpened. And there's a music theory reason for that, but that's what A harmonic minor is, and you don't have a problem here. What you see is what you get. But within here, we have, if I do Control A, delete, and put in harmonic minor in here again, there is another type of minor scale, and that's the natural minor. And even though it's not here, melodic harmonic, we have a natural minor scale that starts on A, right? And if you flatten this, we have our natural minor scale. And we talked about natural, meaning that there are no sharps and flats. So natural minor is another minor scale that you can work in. And this is easy to remember because it's all the white keys starting on A. And this is also a relative of C major. The notes that are contained within C major are the same notes that are contained within A minor. Okay, it's just that one scale starts on a minor chord and another starts on a C major chord. So finding the relative scales between natural scales is pretty easy. C major, all the white keys. If we wanted Phrygian, as long as you know the natural Phrygian scale starts on E, all the white keys starting from E, you know that that's a relative of A minor. So knowing the relative scales, right, how scales relate to each other, can be very helpful, because if you're in the scale of C major, for example, and if you wanted to do something really interesting, it might be nice to try one of the relative scales of C. Right? You might want to try using A minor or soloing another instrument. So it makes it easy to transition through different kinds of relative scales. It gets a little confusing. We'll try to go in here and draw C major in here. Choose the major. All white keys, C major, all white keys, A natural minor, they're relative. But it gets a little confusing sometimes when you have, if I go Shift, Control to select everything. If we wanted to find other relative keys, that can be a little bit of a problem. All right, but if you wanted if we drop down here to G natural minor, if we take a look at the sharps and flats here, we got one sharp, well, we got 2 flats, 1 flat, 2 flats here. G natural minor. And if we take a look at the relative scale, we have 1, 2 flats here, right, for B flat major. So that is a relative scale of G natural minor, right? So that's how you would discover relative scales, all right, that have sharps and flats. You would use that method. All right, let me show you how we would do this. Let's say I wanted you to find, hold Control, delete. Here we have A natural minor, and let's say I wanted you to find the Dorian relative of F sharp minor. Okay, the way you would do that, first you would draw in the natural minor scale. It starts on A. We right click here, we can choose Dorian, which starts on D. So we have both natural Dorian, natural A minor scale here. And if we just wanted to discover any relative, actually any relative key between those, we can just shift this down, and then right within here, the F sharp, here's F sharp minor. We can count the number of sharps we have here, 1, 2, 3 sharps. And then in B Dorian, we have 1, 2, 3. So we found the relative scale. Okay, so we got the natural minor scale, the harmonic minor scale, that are pretty much what you see is what you get. But melodic minor here, we have melodic A minor. This is a little bit different. Notice here in melodic A minor, we have these notes here that are sharpened. A minor, A natural minor looks like this. With melodic minor, these top 2 notes are sharpened. The issue we have here is that they're not sharpened all the time. This is an interesting scale because when we move up the scale, let me show you how this works if I do shift. And when you're working with melodic minor, if your notes are ascending, that means if the pitch is moving upward, like this, we have 2 sharps that we implement. But when we descend down, these turn into naturals. That's how melodic minor works. These notes turn into naturals when we descend downward. And when we go back up, they're sharp. And this can get a little confusing for you. But that's something you got to keep in mind and actually sharpen the make sure these are lined up there. Okay, so we have something different when it's descending and ascending. That's just the way it is. All right, and if you hear how this scale sounds, all right, ascending and descending, we'll listen to that. We're ascending here, and then descending. You move that up an octave so it doesn't sound as muddy. Move that up to A here. And why it's like that, I don't have a firm grip on why exactly the melodic minor scale behaves that way. It's a pretty strange scale, but that's how it behaves. And that's how you would work with it. And to make things a little easier for you, maybe for reference scale, one thing you can do is maybe you can try something, maybe do something like this. All right, if you want to create your reference scale, create a dotted area. All right, and this will help you, because you saw how I was getting mixed up there when I was trying to create an ascending pattern and a descending pattern. And that was just even in the A minor, which should have been easier, but if you were working in some other minor scales, it could be even more confusing. So if you wanted to create maybe a reference pattern, you could do something like this. Okay, and then we could shift this up to A. Right now we have some notes we can reference to help us determine how to work in melodic minor, and then in the piano roll, if we wanted to sequence something in melodic minor, all right, we can see that if we're descending, we would use the notes within this dashed area here. All right, so if I wanted, let's say we wanted to create something, pattern like this, ascending upward. We know when we're ascending, we got to use the sharps, and then if we wanted to just descend back down from that, we would use the dotted area when we descend. And this might make things a little less confusing for you. So that's it for this tutorial. Just wanted to explain natural minor, harmonic minor are not a problem. Melodic minor, a little bit difficult to work in, okay, if you're not used to it. So with that, I'm just going to end this tutorial. In the next tutorial, we're going to talk about intervals and chords.